In headlines, the worst hurricane in more than 50 years in Texas. Of course, we are talking about Hurricane Harvey. Amanda Weldon along with you to talk through it. Now a tropical storm, of course, and it has been in the last couple of days. But the main story is that flooding in Houston. There have been over 3,500 rescues for people who have been caught in through this, and taking a look at the way the system is really meandering around, and when it does that, it continues to drop the rain. It was really blocked between two highs. Finally, it is able to move out, but we could still see an additional 100 to 200 millimeters of rain. And usually in Canada, when we have a rainfall warning, it's 50 millimeters plus. Well, our team was down in Houston. Now they're safe at the airport in San Antonio, but here's to give you a little bit of perspective when they were there. Incredible amounts of water, and we will see even more dramatic rescues coming up after a local forecast. But taking a look at Canada, high pressure in through the Atlantic provinces. It's a bit chillier in through St. John's. You'll see that in your local forecast. And the next chance of rain, well, that's going to be a subtropical low that's moving up. It's going to graze the shores, the immediate shores of Nova Scotia as well as Newfoundland. Talking about Ontario, it's that cold front moving through, as well as the accumulation of rain we had in the southwestern corners. Well, we're out of the woods there, but as we move through the day, we will see that rain and thunderstorm potential throughout Sault Ste. Marie and Timmins and central Ontario, North Bay getting into that. And the thunderstorm risk is definitely there. We're also seeing it to the south. Now, this is totally different. This is from convergence from the lakes as well as daytime heating, but with both, we can definitely see strong winds and heavy downpours of rain. And look at this. We even have a frost warning, or a frost advisory rather, in place in through your Thursday night, as well as those mornings. So Friday, it is going to be chilly. If you are heading out to the CNE, bring an extra layer. So happy to have you along with us, Amanda Weldon, with you talking through our weather story. And we have a few things happening in through the country. An extratropical low tracking towards eastern Canada, cold front sliding down in through Ontario, and heat. You'll see some warnings in your local forecast if you are in southern Alberta, that's for sure. But right now, let's talk about the flooding in through Houston. The stats are impressive. And look at them now, over 1,300 millimeters for Cedar Bayou, and we have even southeast Houston, over a meter of rain as well. 9 trillion gallons of rain has fallen. Be able to drive through this, and we will continue to track Harvey as it moves. Of course, we have had a crew on the ground, and some really impressive stories have come out of that. You can check it out on theweathernetwork.com. Well, for Atlantic Canada, high pressure in through your Wednesday. It's going to be really nice, a bit chillier in St. John's, but the next chance of getting that rain will be with that extra tropical low that's going to be moving in through Thursday. Well, 70 millimeters of rain, so the accumulation on top of that, it does that much flooding potential. And we even saw in through Tecumseh yesterday, had flood watches as well. 126 millimeters. Now, nothing close to Houston, but you saw how awful it was in terms of driving conditions. Well, we also have a thunderstorm risk for Wednesday. The good thing is southwestern Ontario is not in this risk. Basically, daytime heating as well as some convergence from the lakes will play into the southern risk, and a cold front sliding down in the north, that's going to play into the risk, the north. Strong winds, heavy rainfall as well associated with that. And in through the prairies, we also have a risk in place. You could see some hail, gusty winds as well, some energy stateside. That's bringing in that risk for the south and through Alberta and Saskatchewan, but not a lot of moisture in through that one. We do have moisture in through this one that's tracking from the Pacific prefrontal system. Isolated severe around that elbow region, just down the QE2 north of Edmonton. And I want to show you the trough that's going to be moving across throughout our Wednesday. That's going to be an Alberta story, and it'll slowly move into Saskatchewan and then into Manitoba later Thursday. And there it is. There's our Wednesday story for Alberta. And here we are in through BC. No surprise here. Again, no measurable precipitation for the south at all, but we are seeing the potential in through Howe Sound, Whistler to get those showers for Wednesday. It looks like you could see it in Vancouver, but likely it's going to be more in the form of cloud cover, and those fires continue to burn as well. Well, we will talk about this heat in your local forecast, but coming up next, with stats like 15 trillion gallons of water dumped on Texas, you got to know that catastrophic flooding is part of the story, and continuing tropical storm And we could see another 100 to 200 millimeters with this. Finally moving out of the Houston area, but still rain is not good and a part of the story. Flood potential, life-threatening at this point. Moving to the coast, we do have a subtropical low that's going to be tracking up the coast. We'll see it on the immediate shores of Nova Scotia as well as Newfoundland. And through Thursday, you could get some gustier winds as well as heavy downpours of rain. And this isn't rain. This blue moving in, that is actually very cool temperatures. Yes, into Friday we will have some chilly ones moving on in, and we even have a frost advisory for overnight and more into the north. But southern parts, if you're heading out to the CNE, definitely bring an extra jacket. And earlier in through our overnight for Tuesday and into Monday as well, we had a lot of rain for southwestern Ontario. Flooding was definitely a potential there. Could still be seeing that water in the streets. But that has since passed. It's going to give us a great chance to dry up. Well, we're definitely dry in through southern parts of the prairies. Temperatures into the 30s. And for southern Alberta, we do have a heat warning in place. So drink your water, stay inside if you can, and if you don't have air conditioning, head out to the mall for sure. This cold front continues to track down. This is how we're going to see it move. Tuesday, we're going to have it at central Ontario, moves to southern parts, Quebec as well. By Thursday, the Maritimes, and by Friday, Newfoundland, part of your story. And taking a quick look at those temperatures and through the prairies, they're pretty hot. Well, this is where you can find me, but we are going to talk about flooding hacks right now. Well, our weather story continues. Amanda Weldon along with you throughout the overnight and in through our side of the border, because of course we're going to go stateside as a developing story continues. Cold front sliding down through northwestern Ontario. We had some flood watches in through Tecumseh, southwestern Ontario, Windsor yesterday. High pressure for the Atlantic and heat building into southern parts of the prairies. But let's take it to that Houston flooding. When you have stats like 9 trillion gallons of water dumped on Texas, you're going to see accumulations like this. Through the Cedar Bayou, over 1,300 millimeters. And still some on the way. Now it is veering away from Houston, which is great, but could make landfall again in Louisiana. That means 10 more inches is possible. Our team has been on the scene in Houston, and as it actually made landfall, and Jacqueline Woodall and everyone is now in San Antonio, and she's sharing a little bit more with us. Fabulous job in the field, Jacqueline. All right, well, taking a look at eastern Canada, high pressure in place. It's not until Thursday that we are going to see this. You see that green creeping in? It's an extra tropical low moving up through the coast. We'll see it on the shores, the immediate shores of Nova Scotia as well as Newfoundland. Well, let's talk about more activity in through Ontario. That means with the ground already inundated with water, the extra accumulation definitely gives you that flooding potential. People walking through it. 126 millimeters for Windsor through Tuesday, and we're going to even show you the thunderstorm risk throughout tomorrow. We do have that cold front continuing to sink down, isolated severe to the south, and we have some daytime heating through the southern parts. Now, one of those main headlines has for sure been Hurricane Harvey, once a Category 4 storm, and the initial concern is always the storm surge, and then those really heavy winds that come with it. And slowly our story has become the catastrophic flooding. The National Weather Service has actually had to make a new color code for flooding for the amount that they have seen. Over 30 inches was that indicator. And in terms of those stats, this is what we are looking at. Well, 5 inches per hour at maximum rainfall rate. And the total is over 15 trillion gallons of water. And let's take a closer look, because the Houston area has definitely been one of the main areas of interest because it's one of the top 5 populated cities in the U.S. 2.3 million people here, but slowly meandering out of Houston, still dropping heavy amounts of rainfall elsewhere. And on Houston, we could see an additional 100 to 200 millimeters possible. For Louisiana, 10 inches is possible. Now, our team was on the ground in Houston. They are now at the airport, but I just want to give you a little bit of an idea of what they were dealing with. Well, I'm glad to see that they are now out of that situation, but Houston definitely not out of the woods, and neither the coastal areas of Texas and Louisiana. Taking you to this side, high pressure in through eastern Canada, but it's not until Thursday that we are going to see an extra tropical low bringing up that instability, really brushing the shores of Nova Scotia as well as Newfoundland. And for Ontario, high pressure is also in place. You're seeing that cloud cover come in, but this cold front, that's really becoming part of our story. Well, coming up after your local forecast, Expected to make a third landfall in the overnight. Of course, we are talking about Tropical Storm Harvey. We could see another 100 to 200 millimeters of rain with this. In Louisiana, you could get that 10 inches expected because it is moving out of the Houston area, which is good for Houston. Well, we do have a subtropical low that is tracking up the coast, grazing Nova Scotia as well as Newfoundland into your Thursday. That means gustier winds and heavy downpours of rain is definitely possible. And you see that blue sneaking in? Well, we actually have a frost advisory for our overnight into Thursday. And those temperatures are expected to cool down. If you are heading out to the CNE, highly suggest waiting until the weekend. I know there's only a few days left. Friday, it's going to be chilly. You'll see that in your local forecast. And we even saw quite a bit of rain in through southwestern parts of Ontario, but that has since passed. So this is all good, but a cold front sliding down, that's going to bring us our next activity. And in through the prairies, the main story is the temperatures. The heat into the 30s. We actually have a heat warning for southern Alberta, Lethbridge, city of Calgary into this. Usually this time of year, Calgary is around 21 degrees. And for tomorrow, 32 will be more your story. That's over 10 degrees above seasonal. And that will continue for the next little bit. Well, into Tuesday evening, that cold front continues to slide down central Canada, getting into the main risk through tomorrow with that, and then slowly becoming start of a southern story into Wednesday and Atlantic Canada by Thursday and Friday. It's going to be part of your story. Let's take a look at those temperatures. In through the prairies, as we were saying, the heat is there. Calgary at 26, the Okanagan Valley getting into 28. The Kootenays, you could definitely get into the 30s. And we will continue to track this in through your local forecast. Well, earlier, good friend of mine, Michelle Mackey, was in, and this is where you can reach her. She will continue to track Harvey in through tomorrow evening. And the main question is, are you flood ready? Here's Shannon Bradbury.